Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Thanks to all of you for joining us on SCV TV. That's channel 20 and channel 99 if you're on DirecTV. You can also go to scvtv.com or also go to hometownstation.com and click on Total Financial Solutions. You can podcast us, download us. You can even download the video and watch it while you work. You don't have to whistle because you're going to want to listen a little bit. So don't whistle while you work. You can just watch while you work. We're interviewing Congressman Steve Knight. Look, we've talked about some of the issues in the bill. Look, a lot of you have either spoken to me personally or written to me, and you've had some concerns. I get it. Look, I've known Steve for a while, but let me tell you, there are things, I've known my wife longer, and I'm married to that woman, and I don't agree with her 100% of the time. Just like you don't agree, she wouldn't agree with me 100% of the time. So, Steve, one of the problems, we have some core principles, right? And there's core principles that you have as a congressman, as a conservative, as a representative of our district, and it's the reason that a lot of folks sent you to D.C. And to Sacramento before that. Give me one or two of those core principles that the hill you're gonna die on, if you will.
Yeah, so there's a couple. The deficit is a huge issue for me. Increasing the deficit this year was a decision I had to make on this omnibus bill. I still will adhere to the 10-year plan to make sure that we have a balanced budget and no deficit at the end of those 10 years. I will still adhere to that. That is still my goal. I talked to Congressman Tom McClintock about this, and we talked about this omnibus bill, and he said, I have a lot of things that are really great in here, and I really want to vote for this, but this is going to increase the deficit a little bit. He said, that is my number one reason why I wouldn't vote for this. And I said, I understand that. And I don't know that I would tell everyone this, but I will. I will tell everyone this. With this administration, with this president, I could not have the confidence to fight the war on terror, to do what we need to do this year, without making sure our military was 100% funded. And that's what it came down to. Now, I will still adhere to this 10-year plan of having our deficit balanced and hopefully building a surplus at that time. So hopefully through this appropriations bills, this next year, the 12 appropriations bills, I will have a lot to say about how we curb this and make sure that we are balanced in 10 years. And that's been the plan that we had started at the beginning of the year. That's the plan that I plan on finishing at the end of 10 years. But with this administration not doing the things that we absolutely have to do to fight the war on terror, and as a general told me, it's better to fight an away game than it is a home game.
I agree.
And if we don't fund them 100%, we will be fighting a home game.
We have friends in both former military and police, and people have no idea how many times these types of terrorist threats are foiled right here on our shores. You can't. I mean, goodness, if you cried wolf all the time, or you would panic the populace. People wouldn't go about their jobs. They wouldn't spend money. They wouldn't go out to eat. They wouldn't live a life. They wouldn't go to school. So the job is to take care of the scary people on the wall. Who was it? In A Few Good Men, right? Jack Nicklaus, right on the stand. Look, you don't have to agree with everything. Please, some of you, I get it. But realize you're not going to agree with anybody all the time. You don't agree with yourself. You've changed your mind. Yesterday it was pasta. Today it's chicken. Goodness, you're going to change your mind on little things. But Steve, Planned Parenthood is a big deal for a lot of people.
Big deal.
After being caught in those undercover videos, admitting to selling and or harvesting baby parts for almost to order. It sounds kind of gross, but a lot of people called for the defunding of Planned Parenthood, especially because the services they once provided that were so exclusive to them are now being provided basically through the Obamacare period done. Why is it that we still have any dollars going to them?
Yeah, I would like to say that we could defund Planned Parenthood. I'm part of a bill process that is moving forward, that we take out the money that goes to Planned Parenthood, we put it into a grant system, and all of the groups in this country, there's about 10,000 of them, can apply for the grant.
Right, exactly, because they all do the same, quote, women's health, right?
They can all apply for the grant, or just take the money away and pay down the deficit with that money. Either way, I am okay with it. But for one group to get this amount of money, and not really have to do anything for it, just politically they get it every year, is horrible. I am a pro-life candidate. I make no exception. I don't have any of those three that a lot of my other Republicans have. But again, this president would not sign and would not take anything that we would do to defund Planned Parenthood. We moved forward defunding Planned Parenthood, went through the House. It will not go through the Senate. They will not pick it up, and it will not get signed by the president. So I am an optimist, but I'm a realist.
You know, the CEO of Planned Parenthood makes thousands, 520,000. Just so you understand, folks, that's $1,000 a week. Every week, every week, every week. 520,000 a year. Divided by 52, carry the one. Sorry, $10,000 a week. I said 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. $10,000 a week. $10,000 a week, that's $2,000 a day, Monday through Friday. How many of you make $2,000 a day? Do they still need our money? What if she took a pay cut of $500?
Well, and they made money last year. They made like $118 million last year. So if they're making $118 million and we're giving them $268 million, plus the money that's not Medicaid money.
There's plenty of funds. If people want to, look, it's still legal, do your thing. It's just...
It is legal. It's, against my principles, but it is legal. But there are many groups out there, like I said, 10,000 of them, and almost every one of them, except for Planned Parenthood, does it on private money. So you donate to this group. I myself donate to 2 different groups, and they do things for women's health. So
none of those are abortions.
None of those are abortions. Yeah. But you can't use federal money for abortions. Now, we all smirk at that, but and we have called for an audit of Planned Parenthood to make sure that not $1 is used for an abortion, but we know the shell game that's used to use that money.
And look, it's impossible to understand being in a unplanned pregnancy, and I can tell you that it is seen across the land. When I was in law enforcement, you could see across the land some of the poverty and the results behind the scenes. It's a horrible thing, and I understand that. But for a lot of conservatives, their principles are, this is a hill to die on. You're saying it's a battle, it's not the war.
Well, it is an absolute battle, but again, if we've got somebody there with utmost power that can stop anything that we do, and he will, and he has said that, then until we get a different president in the White House, Planned Parenthood will get funding. I don't know any other way to say it. Again, I'm an optimist, but I'm a realist too. It will not go through the Senate. The Senate said they won't even pick it up. So when we sent over our defunding Planned Parenthood bill, they don't pick it up. It just sits there.
Now, why is it that they don't do that?
Well,
it seems like, right, it's a majority party. It should be that you guys are on the same page.
Yeah, there's 2 horrible rules in the Senate, and we, I've yelled and screamed about this. I don't understand the 60-vote rule, but...
Didn't Harry Reid wipe that rule away?
Well, yeah, when he needs to do it, but McConnell won't do anything with it. He says it's a tradition. That tradition only dates back to the 1970s. It's not like it was written by Madison or something.
Yeah.
This is just a tradition that's 40 years old. And he says, if we ever lose the majority, then it hurts us. Well, when you have the majority, you want to win.
Right.
You don't play to not lose, you play to win.
That's right.
So I would like him to change that 60-vote rule, get it down to a majority, pass some of these bills. We would have put about 100 bills on President Obama's desk this last year if we would have changed the 60-vote rule. The Senate won't do that. That's why defunding Planned Parenthood sat in the Senate and will not be picked up. So if it sits in the Senate and will not be picked up, does that mean that people do not want a budget for the country?
Of course not.
I mean, you have to have a budget for the country. We still want to fund the military, don't we? We still want to fund infrastructure. We still want to fund the things that we have to have this country move forward, and the things that defend this country. So again, I'm pro-life 100%, but until we get somebody else in the White House and until we can move the Senate, they just sit there. That bill sits there. Well, just like hundreds have sat in the Senate.
Hey, Congressman Knight, if there was, going forward, if there was one area in the budget you could cut out in the future, what would it be?
Oh, well, I don't know that there are areas that I can say I want to take a whole area. Mm-hmm. Now, I would take out obviously funding like this, and there are several of these issues.
And they fly under the radar, I bet, don't they?
And they fly under the radar. There are hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars that fly under the radar that, yes, we would like to just cut them out. But again, if the Senate won't pick them up and if the president will not sign it, then what we have to do is go in and try and reform some of these things. And the reform is how we did part of the omnibus. We took some money out of something that we didn't believe was working very well, and we put it into something that we wanted, which was border security, which was better fence, better technology. So it was a moving of money, but taking it out of something that was bad and putting it into something that was good. Now, the only way that we're going to do what I think you're alluding to is make sure that when we do that, the money curbs down and we have a surplus at the end of 10 years. I absolutely believe we're going to do that. I absolutely believe that Chairman Price, who's in charge of the budget right now, is sticking to that plan. But also, we need somebody in the White House that will sign bills, that will look at things. Right now, you've got a president who's been there 7 years. He's had to veto less than 10 bills.
Yeah, why isn't it we're forcing a veto as the citizens of this country? The president can say, oh, what if, is his goal to go down in history? I mean, obviously, this is more rhetorical, but why aren't you forcing his hand? Why aren't you saying, look, here's some of the bills that we were voted on by the American people, and if they don't like it, then this is going to hit the news and they'll vote me out of office. But until then, everybody, it's like kissing your sister. It really doesn't count. People are just hanging out in Washington and pretending to, shuffle paper around.
Yeah, I would like the president to have to do what the executive branch has to do. That means when the bills are heard in the House and in the Senate, he has to see them. Unfortunately, like I said, less than 10 bills have been vetoed. That's not what should happen. He should have hundreds of bills going on his desk every year that he has to say up or down.
And then he has a chance to have those, you guys have a chance in Congress to have those bills overturned, and
Right.
you can override his veto, and tough luck, it becomes law.
Sure.
Or you can say, I guess the people weren't serious enough about it because they were not hearing from the community.
Sure. But, one of the last things I'd like to say on the budget, Arif, it's your show, you can continue on. But there were some bad things in the budget, absolutely. There were way more good things. And when it comes to an omnibus and you've got to look at kind of the totality of everything that's there, yes, I had to make a vote, but I am still committed to a balanced budget in 10 years, no deficit, and moving on with a surplus.
So tell me then, give me something that you see in that budget, whether it's, a dollar figure was more than it should be, or that the program actually exists and you don't think it should inside of the omnibus bill that was passed. Where do you think we should have cut 10%, 20%? Is there even a room for that? I don't know.
Well, I don't know that you can take 10% and say we're going to cut it out of this, but we did do some good issues with, and I'm going to pull up another one, with the No Child Left Behind. And I think that that's going to save some money and it's going to make education better in this country. A lot of people think that the federal government shouldn't be in education. I would agree with those people. I would, but we had No Child Left Behind written years ago. It was a failure, and so what we're trying to do is make that a lot better.
What does that mean, a failure? What was it? Give us a brief. What is No Child Left Behind?
Yeah, so it took a lot of the responsibility from what our school districts do and what our locals do and put it into the federal government. Now what we're trying to do is take it from the federal government, put it back into the school districts, put it back into the local areas, and make those reforms here in the local areas. So if you have a school board member on your school district, that's someone you can go talk to. It's not the president that you go talk to about your school district. It's the school board member. So we've taken about 10 different issues, put them back into the school districts, given them the power. A lot of the teachers unions were behind this. The superintendents were behind this.
It seems from a control and an accountability standpoint, why wouldn't all of the citizens demand that their
Absolutely.
local
Absolutely.
representatives at the local level, right? Because I can go down to the PTA, the barber shop the president of the PTA owns, or the bakery, or whatever it might be, and have a conversation with them about whatever it is. But
So this is the first step to try and get rid of No Child Left Behind, get more interest back into the school districts. This is the first issue. You're going to see more and more of these until we can pull away from the federal government, put it into the local government, and just have school districts handle schools.
So that's a nice move, if you will.
That's a great move. It's a great move. It's going to save us some money. It's going to make teachers and parents and schools more accountable.
Well, here's my big concern when we come back. I want to jump on to Social Security. We talk about that a lot. Some of the deficits, some of the concerns, some of the recent news, if you will, in the last year or so, that Social Security is going to run out by 2033. And what does that mean? And are there any provisions that we can take as citizens to maybe make our Social Security last longer? I guess maybe that's more in my field and in our field with Jeff and I. But overall, what is Washington doing, and is there any kind of provisions in this particular budget when we come back? Folks, you can get a hold of us if you'd like. Call us directly, 298-5487. Give us a call. You get right into the studio, and if you have a question for Congressman Knight, 298-5487. That's 298-KHTS. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Gerard with special guest Congressman Steve Knight. On your place for news, talk, and information, this is Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby, Jeff Gerard, and special guest Congressman Steve Knight. We have about 10 minutes left in the program, folks. Give us a call at 298-5487 if you have a question. That's 298-5487 if you'd like to ask Congressman Knight a question. We're talking about a few things. One of those specifically is about the budget, some of the things that are happening with this new budget, why it's stressing out a lot of people, especially conservatives. But look, you don't have to be a conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. Things matter to me because I'm a numbers guy. 1 + 1 is 2. You've heard me say this. 1 + 1 is 2, whether you feel like it's 4 or you really want it to be 9. Or I have great conviction that 1 + 1 is 18, just the way it is. No, sir. 1 + 1 is 2. I think some of our past Congresses and maybe even the president have missed that. They've got the new math. Is that Common Core? Is that where that came from? I don't know. I don't know that. I just saw how a car was built recently, a picture of Common Core math building a car. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
I'll try to find that for you.
Okay. All right.
But we are asking about Social Security, guys. A lot of you are asking these questions. Many of you are scared. Social Security is supposed to end in 2033, not have problems. It began having problems a few years ago, and as in there's no more money left. What is Congress doing moving forward to ensure that Social Security is there for generations to come? Because we're all putting into it. It's,
Right.
They would say the definition of a Ponzi scheme is dollars going in and you're paying for future generations. And we're not calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, but help me make it not be here.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of Social Security. I can say that. I don't think it was set up the correct way. And back in I think 1968, Congress voted so that they could start borrowing against Social Security. I think it's just a big plan that allowed too many fingers in there that are not working for the greater good. But all of that being said, we have Social Security, and we want to keep Social Security for generations to come. I had a young lady, about 88 years old, call me one day and say, I hear you're voting to get rid of Social Security. I can say this on air, I'm not voting to get rid of Social Security or Medicaid. I think that those two programs do a lot of good. They do a lot of good for not just our seniors, but for generations in the future. But if we're going to do this, and we're going to continue to have Social Security, then there has to be changes. And I think Arif can speak to this a lot better than I can. But people live longer. And if you are going to pay for the folks that are on Social Security today, by the younger people today, then there are going to have to be changes. And that's about every generation. That's about every 15 years that you have to make changes to Social Security, or it will go away, or we will not have enough money. So that means people are going to have to work longer, or they're going to have to put in more. Sometimes it's both.
Yeah.
And that's just any program, Arif, in your business. When somebody is going to live to 95 years old, you try and make it so they have money to 95 years old. At some point, the generations are going to live to 105, and so on and so forth. So we have to do that with Social Security, and that means that, like I said, about every 10 to 15 years, we have to make serious corrections to Social Security. Doesn't mean we're getting rid of it. Doesn't mean it's going away. I don't believe it's going away by 2030. but we do have to continue to change it.
You know, and I think it was either November or December of 1996 or January of 1997. I was speaking to a group of financial advisors. I know it was towards the end of the year or the beginning of the year, and we were talking about Social Security and some of the solutions. And basically, back to the days of just a math formula, we said, look, you're going to have to raise the retirement age from 62 to 65 before you can start collecting. And I know my 59-year-olds aren't going to like it. Maybe there's like a half provision you can start or something. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the inner workings of Social Security. I can just tell you from a math formula, if you raise the numbers, you have to raise taxes a little bit, and you give people the chance to opt out with a portion of their money, allow me to increase the amount that I put into my own personal retirement accounts. It's my business. It's my money. I should be able to put in $10,000 a year. Why is this $6,500 or $5,500? How silly is that? Let me save my own retirement and then don't give me any Social Security. Those kinds of provisions. So we've laid out a 5-point plan that I think, and you're going to have to do something, if you will, to hurt everybody. Everybody's going to have to pay the price. If you earn more than a certain amount of money, then you forget, you give up your Social Security. I hate that. Look, if I put it in, it's my money. But if we're going to live on this planet and you're going to breathe the air that I breathe out, then it's the way it goes.
Well, and when they were thinking of this, if they would have done that and said, look, it's your money. You're going to put in $5,000 a year, but it's your money. And you have your own account, and this is your deal. And when you're 60 years old, this is how much money you're probably going to have in there. And they could have set it up so you have certain things that you can invest in.
Yeah.
Not very dramatic things, not very aggressive things, but they could have set it up. And that would have been your money. But now it's not your money.
That's right.
Now it's somebody who's on Social Security's money, because we have to pay for that promise that we made them. That's the problem with Social Security, and that's the problem with trying to turn this into a private situation. Is it's going to be very, very difficult because we're paying for an awful lot of people.
And Canada saw our problems early on, and they switched to an RSP program many years ago, in fact, and allow people to personally invest their own Social Security money. There's still an old age pension. There still is a minimum of hundreds of dollars a month, but it's still in a position to where, hey, if you did well, if you're smart, if you're good with your money, then you actually have your own plan. Just this year, the new life expectancy tables came out. And look, insurance companies are bipartisan. Right now they love President Obama because he's backhanded through various methods, giving insurance companies lots of money. I don't know why we don't hear it's about the insurance companies or the oil companies. Oh, that's the other party. But you see the funding, this behind-the-scenes funding of insurance companies. They don't really care. They're a numbers game. Today, and effective in January 2016, life expectancies and recalculations for insurance companies are changing because people are living longer. If I remember right, it's like 2 years or 2.5 years based on just the recent life expectancy. Now we do them in the insurance world every couple of years as opposed to every 10 years because things were changing so rapidly. It was difficult to make big changes, once every 10 years. So we have access to that information. I mean, I would think Congress does as well.
Well, and understand, when Social Security was developed, it was sold as an insurance plan. And when people were getting on Social Security, they weren't expected to live more than 10 or 12 years past once they got on. So it wasn't something that they thought, oh boy, this is going to become this big monster and we're going to have to keep paying for it and all of this because people are going to be dying quickly after they get on it. But now, people get on Social Security and 30 years later, they're still on Social Security. Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. I want to live a long time. But that costs a lot of money too. So this is the biggest political football that ever was created. It will always be, and I agree. If we make a promise, which means you put money into this system, then there better be money in that system when I get to that age.
Yeah.
And I want to help the next generation too. That's just the way it's going to have to be.
And I think a lot of us and a lot of seniors have built their financial life knowing that they put money in and that's part of their solutions. It's one of two, maybe one of six. You always heard me say 5 different sources of income in retirement is kind of a key component, if you will. It's a real safety net to make sure that if something happens, you can protect your family's future. But look, when it comes down, we have about 30 seconds left. When it comes down to the next year in Congress, tell me what 2016 is all about for, for the 25th.
For me, we're going to continue on the CMEX mine. We hope that we're going to get some resolve in the first or second quarter. We're looking at a lot of things that are happening in the CMEX. St. Francis Dam legislation should be completed. So those are two big items right off the bat. We're going to be building some veterans legislation. We have been talking to the veterans groups, and we have some good ideas what we're going to be doing there. We're also building a NASA program, not a program, but a piece of legislation that's going to change NASA a little bit. Right now, only 3% of NASA's budget goes into aeronautics. So
where's the rest of it go?
It all goes into space and other activities. So we're going to change that quite a bit. We want to bring back an X-plane program so that us that ride on airliners and us that have that do on general aviation will get some benefit from NASA outside of what we do in space.
Well, look, it sounds like a big year's come up. I want to thank you for coming in and stopping by.
One last thing.
Let's hear it.
Okay, my cell phone.
Yes.
661-450-7422. Thank you, Arif.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us, Congressman Steve Knight. I'm Arif Halaby. Total Financial Solutions, Save for Money Hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back.